Today, we're going to be talking about trades, and not just any trades, some blockbuster trades that need to happen this offseason in Major League Baseball whenever the lockout does inevitably end. It has to end at some point. Now, do I think these trades are going to happen 100%? No, of course not. But I do think that these players fit on these teams that they would be traded to, and this would completely change the outlook of Major League Baseball as we know it. And I want to give a quick shout to today's sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the NFL. They've got huge offers during the NFL playoffs. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team they choose in the NFL playoffs to win their game. You bet just $5 and you could win $280 in free bets if your team is victorious. And if you're worried that DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state, have no fear. DraftKings still has their daily fantasy contest that new customers can get involved in, win huge cash prizes, and DraftKings is also giving new customers on their daily fantasy site a free shot at millions of dollars in cash prizes with their first deposit. DraftKings Sportsbook's where I've been making all my bets all playoff long, and you should too. It is by far the best sportsbook app out there. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code GiraffeNeckMarc and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 to win $280 in free bets if your NFL team wins. That's promo code GiraffeNeckMarc at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring today's video. Getting us started off, the first trade that I think needs to happen this offseason, Luis Castillo gets traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers have lost Max Scherzer. They might be losing Clayton Kershaw. Who knows what's going on with Trevor Bauer? They need some starting pitching, which is something we don't say too often about the Dodgers. Now, they have a bunch of guys that can fill in and be serviceable. Andrew Heaney, David Price, maybe an Andre Jackson, Mitch White, maybe even Dustin May if he's healthy. But they are still missing one of those major cogs to that rotation, and a guy like Luis Castillo, who has a little bit of control. The Reds are looking for a ton of really good prospects, high quality players. The Dodgers feel like a perfect fit to trade for Luis Castillo. And again, while Luis Castillo was bad last year, he'd be going to one of the better defensive teams in baseball, one of just the better teams in the entire game. Getting out of Cincinnati will do wonders for his pitching stats. The home run numbers will definitely drop, the runs will drop, and just getting him in a winning environment I think could be huge for him. Imagine having Luis Castillo in a rotation at minimum with Walker Buehler and Julio Urias. I mean, that's a pretty good 1-2-3 punch right there. And you might bring Clayton Kershaw back too. Luis Castillo to the Dodgers, while it's like evil, and I would rather see him on the Mets or a bunch of other teams make sense, I think that the Dodgers and Luis Castillo is a blockbuster trade that could definitely happen this offseason. I mean, guys like Andre Jackson, Landon Knack, Clayton Beeter, maybe even Bobby Miller if they're trying to get aggressive, all are pitchers that the Reds could probably be interested in. And then they're just loaded up the middle with prospects as well. Willman, which I wouldn't trade, but maybe. Jacob Amaya, Eddie's Leonard, Jorbit Vivas. I mean, there's a lot of guys that this Dodgers team can put together, maybe even a Jake Vogel, to go to the Reds and get Luis Castillo back. It's a really good fit. The next blockbuster trade that I think needs to happen this offseason is John Means of the Baltimore Orioles getting traded to the St. Louis Cardinals. Imagine John Means going from Baltimore, which is not a pitcher-friendly park, not a pitcher-friendly division, in the AL East. I mean, it just feels like this is not a good place for John Means to be. You move him to St. Louis, where they have possibly the best infield defense behind you in Major League Baseball, definitely the best outfield defense, pretty good catcher as well, just a solid defense in a pitcher park in a much more friendly division. John Means to the St. Louis Cardinals, oh my goodness, he would be disgusting out there. It just feels like a Cardinals pitcher. Now, of course, he does have a little bit of control over him, so the Cardinals are going to have to give up a decent bit. Maybe a guy like Matthew Liberatore. Maybe even a really interesting prospect like Mason Wynn, who could be a two-way player. I think Malcolm Nunez could be on the table. Edwin Nunez, Angel Rondon, Jeremy Rivas, a young shortstop. I mean, the Cardinals have enough to get a guy like John Means, especially if they're going to lead with a Matthew Liberatore. The Orioles are still not there yet. While John Means is a very good pitcher, I don't know how much value he's going to really have to them right now to help that rebuild build around Adley and the guys like Cedric Mullins and Grayson Rodriguez when he eventually comes up. I understand the hesitancy in Orioles fans. I don't blame you if you're mad at me for saying that John Means is a perfect trade for the St. Louis Cardinals, but the Cardinals need some starting pitching. Their starting pitching is not particularly strong. The Orioles can get more pieces. Feels like a really good fit. John Means to the St. Louis Cardinals is a trade that is almost too good to be true. It's a blockbuster trade video. You knew I was going to talk about Matt Olson being traded to the Yankees because let's be honest, Matt Olson playing in Yankee Stadium is a terrifying thought. Nightmare fuel if you're in the American League East, because Matt Olson will hit you 35, 40 home runs playing out in Oakland in the American League West, where there are not a lot of hitter-friendly parks. You get him in Yankee Stadium, 80 games a season with that sweet left-handed swing to help out that lineup that desperately needs more left-handed balance because Joey Gallo's kind of it right now. Man, Matt Olson in Yankee Stadium in that Yankees lineup is just, it's scary. And the Yankees have enough to get Matt Olson for sure. He's got some control, so you're going to have to give him some pieces. I don't think Oswald Peraza is going to come off the board because he's honestly just way too good. And I don't expect any of the first-round picks from recent years to be in this trade, but maybe guys like Clark Schmidt, Luke Voigt, I think would definitely be involved. Randy Vasquez, maybe even Davy Garcia, maybe a guy like Ken Waldachuk, who's close to Major League ready probably as soon as next year. Maybe Alexander Vargas, who's a young shortstop in the organization. The Yankees have a pretty deep farm system that they'll be able to pull from, and I think that they should be able to get a deal done for Matt Olson. And if you're a Yankee fan, this guy should be playing in 2022 in the pinstripes. There's no reason why he shouldn't be. I don't like it, but it should happen. For the next blockbuster trade, we're gonna head back out west. Colorado Rockies starting pitcher German Marquez. When is this guy gonna get traded? When are they gonna get him out of the hell that is Coors Field? It's not fair. This guy would be such a good pitcher if he wasn't in Colorado for half of his starts. So the Rockies are finally gonna trade him because they're not going anywhere. They're an incompetent organization. Dick Monfort, not the greatest owner. It's about time they move on from German Marquez. Break him out of jail and send him to the Los Angeles Angels, who also need to trade for pitching, who need pitching so desperately badly. I don't even know if that's English, desperately badly, but they need it bad. And while he had like a 4.4 ERA and for his career, 4.2 ERA, you think he might not be the answer. Look at his road splits. Look at the stuff that he has. Look at his ability. He just gets screwed because of the Rockies and Coors. And you got a little control over him too. Not a free agent until 2024 offseason. So what would the Angels have to give up? I don't think that much. The Rockies, one, are just like an incompetent organization, so I don't think you're gonna have to give up a huge name, one of your frontline guys. Maybe like Griffin Canning, but I don't even think you would have to even get that crazy. You could probably get away with a Jeremiah Jackson, maybe a Kai Bush, who just got drafted this past year, Alexander Ramirez, which I wouldn't be thrilled to trade if I'm an Angels fan, but German Marquez would definitely help you out a lot right now. Even going down the list, like they have some pitchers. They drafted only pitchers last year, and we know how much the Rockies are committed to trying to build pitchers in that stadium despite it never working. The Angels have a chance to fleece the Colorado Rockies and get a really good pitcher in German Marquez and help out that rotation that desperately needs help. All right, for this next one, we're getting a little crazy. Matt Chapman, Oakland A's. Will he get traded? Probably not. But do I think he should? Oh yeah, and I think he should get traded to my favorite team, the New York Mets, because the Mets need a third baseman, and Matt Chapman, ooh, I'd love to see him play third base every day out in Queens and Citi Field. And I do think that the Mets have pieces to get Matt Chapman from the Oakland A's. A guy like Ronnie Mauricio would probably be guaranteed to be included in it, a top 100 prospect. He doesn't really fit in the Mets organization right now based on their structure. He's a good player, and I think the A's would love him. He could be their franchise shortstop for the future. He's a good player. You could probably throw in a guy like Jeff McNeil, who the Mets have been open to trading this offseason. Maybe even JD Davis if the A's are interested. And then you throw in some pitchers, maybe a guy like Joel Diaz, Jose Budo, Robert Dominguez. The Mets got pieces to get Matt Chapman away from Oakland, giving up a top 100 prospect plus an MLB ready player plus some younger pitchers. I think that this would be a trade that could definitely happen, and wow, would I love Matt Chapman in New York with the Mets. That defense, Lindor and Chapman, nothing would get through on the left side. Plus, like, Stu would look good in the orange and blue. Tyler Glasnow. This is probably not a name that many of you expected to see, but the Rays kind of do this. Whenever pitchers get close to arbitration years, they're ready to move on, and Tyler Glasnow, along with the Tommy John surgery, feels a lot like when they moved Blake Snell. And Tyler Glasnow, he's arbitration eligible this year. The Rays don't typically like to pay arbitration eligible guys coming off Tommy John surgery. Granted, Blake Snell wasn't, but they feel very similar in the fact that they got traded when you didn't really expect it. I think Tyler Glasnow can get traded this offseason, and I think a team that fits a lot, the Houston Astros. Now, of course, the Astros have a lot of young pitching, but a guy like Tyler Glasnow, get him in Houston, pitching with those guys. I know Brent Strom's not there anymore, and Tyler Glasnow is going to miss a good portion of 2022, but he'll be ready and healthy for all of 2023. You can be smart, you can be shrewd, get a guy, honestly, probably a little bit on the low, just like Blake Snell was a little bit last year. Tyler Glasnow in Houston, pitching next to Justin Verlander. I like it a lot. There's a lot of teams, I think, that are going to be calling about Tyler Glasnow, but of course, his health is always the issue right now. How is he going to come back from that TJ? But if he comes back healthy, he comes back strong. There's no doubt that Tyler Glasnow can be a top pitcher in the game, and whoever's trading for him could be getting an absolute steal. Rays, they're looking to move him. I'm telling you, there's a really good chance he gets moved this offseason, and the Astros feel like a good home for him. Now, what would the Astros give up? That I'm not sure about. I don't think they're giving up Pedro Leon. I really don't. I think the Rays would probably want him. I don't think they'll give him up because he can play outfield and shortstop. But maybe the Rays take a flyer on Forrest Whitley. Maybe they look at an Alex Santos who is out of the 2020 draft who has good stuff. Peter Solomon's a guy who's MLB ready. Tyler Ivey is getting close to MLB ready. Go down even further, a dude Logan Cerny, maybe even Freudis Nova. I think the Astros could get this trade done. Okay, here's where we really start to get crazy, but I love this idea. Jose Ramirez, Cleveland Guardians, they traded Lindor. Why would they not trade Ramirez? He's gonna walk. You're not gonna pay him, so get something back for him and trade him to the Seattle Mariners. Oh, the Mariners need a third baseman. Jose Ramirez playing third base in that team with those young stars that they got. Ooh, I love the way that that sounds. And I think the Mariners have the capital to get Jose Ramirez away from Cleveland. Now, you're not giving up Noel Elvy, you're not giving up Julio Rodriguez, and you're not giving up George Kirby, but maybe a guy like Brandon Williamson, maybe a Harry Ford, maybe Deloach, Emerson Hancock, Edwin Arroyo. Get a little bit of the younger guys, Starling Aguilar, Milker Perez. The Seattle farm system is loaded. They don't have to move one of their top 3 prospects to get Jose Ramirez. And I really do think that if this Mariners team's going to go for it and they want to spend some money and re-sign him at the end of the season, this could be a franchise-altering move for the Mariners. Having him around Jared Kelenic, Julio Rodriguez when he gets called up, Kyle Lewis is still good, Taylor Trammell is still there, Mitch Haniger's still there, Ty France is good, JP Crawford took a big step forward, Frazier at second base, some good pitching, Robbie Ray they just signed. Go get Jose Ramirez, make a move, Mariners. Even wearing your sweatshirt today. Okay, yeah, I'm getting crazy again here. Ketel Marte, Arizona Diamondbacks, heard of him, one of the most underrated players in the league. We got to get him out of Arizona because we need him on a winning team. He's too talented to just stay irrelevant in Arizona. So let's trade him to Toronto to be a part of the Blue Jays. Fun fact, Ketel Marte and Vlad Jr., cousin-in-laws. Does that mean anything for the trade? No, but it's also fun to throw in there. Blue Jays need a second baseman. I know they have Kevin Biggio, but they need a second baseman. Ketel Marte is one of the best in the league, would be a massive, massive upgrade of what they have. It makes the losing of Marcus Semien a whole lot less, and they've got some prospects that they are able to move. If they want to get crazy, they can try and move maybe Orelvis Martinez. Now, I love Orelvis Martinez. I wouldn't move him, but that's what it might take because Ketel Marte is under control until the end of 2024 with team options. You've got control. The Diamondbacks can get a lot back here. Orelvis Martinez, Jordan Groshans, Miguel Geraldo. I mean, you want to talk about guys up the middle that the Diamondbacks could get and get stronger with? Those are 3 names that they could definitely be interested in. Maybe they want to get a little bit younger. Maybe Emmanuel Beltre, who personally I wouldn't trade, but again, you're getting Ketel Marte, so yeah, you would trade for. And then pitching-wise, a guy like Adam Kloffenstein, Ricky Tiedemann. Maybe you trade Otto Lopez. They have so many different opportunities. You probably throw Kevin Biggio into this trade too, but there's so many different ways that the Blue Jays can mix and match to get Ketel Marte on this team. You've got to make it happen if you're Toronto. You're so close to being one of the best teams in baseball. Go and do it. Go get Ketel Marte. Make a sick team that's going to be so fun to watch. The second to last trade in today's video, let's talk about a catcher that's on the move, I think, this offseason. It's weird because the Cubs have made moves like getting Stroman, but Wilson Contreras, I think, could definitely be on the move. Now, I originally would have locked in the Miami Marlins, but they got Jacob Stallings, so I had to reevaluate. I had to rethink who could get Wilson Contreras. The Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers seem to be going for it, and you want to get a really good, strong catcher. Wilson Contreras could be your guy, and I truly don't think he's going to cost an arm and a leg. Maybe just an arm. And the Rangers have one of the deeper farm systems in baseball right now that would definitely interest the Cubs, who are looking to replenish the farm system like they have the past year. I mean, if you're the Rangers, you could give up like a Luis Angel Acuna, maybe a Justin Foscue. Maybe you give up Sam Huff. He's not even really a catcher anymore. Maybe you give him up. Owen White, Evan Carter, one of those pieces I think would be included because those are all in their top 10 of what is a very strong farm system. And then you go even a little bit deeper, maybe Trevor Hauver, maybe some MLB ready guys like an AJ Alexi. You can even ask for Tekoa Roby. Like, the Rangers have a ton of prospects that they could throw at the Cubs that wouldn't diminish their farm system as well as would get them a really good catcher in Wilson Contreras, in a position that is a hole for them. I know you guys are gonna say Jonah Heim. What about Jonah Heim? You take Wilson Contreras over Jonah Heim. I'm sorry. It's just, that's how it goes. He's better. And then for the last and final trade, we're ending it with a pitcher, Sonny Gray, being traded from the Reds to the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies are desperately in need for another starting pitcher, among a lot of other things. But you've got Zach Wheeler, who's one of the best pitchers in baseball. You got Aaron Nola, who's a top 30 pitcher in the league. You got Zach Eflin, who's a really good mid to back end guy. And you got Ranger Suarez, again, really good mid to back end guy. But you could grab Sonny Gray from the Reds, who would probably not cost you too much, and you would be able to have one of the stronger 1 through 5 rotations in baseball, especially 1 through 3. Wheeler, Nola, Gray, Eflin, 1 through 4 even. Really, really good. Ranger Suarez, good 5. Like, that would be a really, really strong rotation. That would make me think the Phillies are not a 4th place team. That would scare me as a Mets fan. Now, here's the hard part. Figuring out who the Phillies would trade to the Reds. It's not going to be Alec Boehm. No one wants him. Scott Kingery probably gets thrown in there, but he's not the main piece. And you're not touching Bryson Stott. You're not touching Mick Abel. You're not touching Andrew Painter. Those guys are off limits. But they could get creative. There's a guy, Johan Rojas, who's an outfielder that really came on strong at the end of last year. I think you'd be willing to move him for Sonny Gray. One of their draft picks last year, Ethan Wilson. I think that's a guy you could move. I know they drafted Casey Martin in the past too, middle infielder. Casey Martin could be on the move. Logan O'Hoppe, who's their like best catching prospect, could be of interest to the Reds, although they like Tyler Stevenson a lot, so I don't know too much about that. Simone Muzziotti, who actually played a little bit in the AFL. Some people around the league are liking him. He's a good athlete. The Phillies farm system's awful, so this is what makes this trade a little more difficult, but the match makes sense. So I think if you're the Phillies, you find a way to get this done if you do truly care about making the playoffs and having a good team, because Sonny Gray would really push you to another level. So those are my trades. They're a little crazy. I admit it. They're a little nuts. They're blockbuster trades, but listen, tell me, am I wrong? Am I right? What do you think in the comment section down below? Are these blockbuster trades that need to happen? Could they happen? Should they happen? I want to know what you're thinking down in the comments. If you did make it this far, I really would appreciate it if you do drop a like on this video. It really does help support the channel, as well as subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you. Check the description as well. Follow me on all my social media, as well as check out DraftKings Sportsbook, the sponsor of today's video. So as we wrap up here, if you guys are are interested in learning about some prospects, this video right here is gonna be my top 10 catching prospects going into the 2022 season. And this is a fun video I did the other day where I built an NFL team using only MLB players. So if you haven't seen any of those videos, click through them. I promise you'll enjoy them. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you next time for another video. Bye.